the high scorer, was at a pub and was unmercifully attacked by a particular one of the defendants in this case, possibly others, and that's what we would call the first strike in the case, and I claim, and we're claiming, that he was actually killed 3 times in this case. First time was the actual assault, where he was hit so hard that he fell to the floor, fractured two ribs and discs in his neck, had a bloodied lip, his face was completely pummeled, he had a subcranial hemorrhage from which he could have survived. The second strike was he was taken to a low-level hospital, we believe in part because of racial profiling, which I'll discuss a little bit later, and that he was sent to a hospital and left to die there. He wasn't even diagnosed. They assumed because he was an African-American and an African-American basketball player and he was at a party that he must be drunk. As you can see, we have an expert doctor in this case, and if they had realized by just looking at his face that he'd been involved in a heavy trauma, they would have known what took them 4.5 hours to figure out, and by then it was probably too late, that he had a subcranial hemorrhage for which he could have survived. He was eventually transferred to the other hospital where they tried to save his life, but unfortunately he had 2 heart attacks on the table, and as we know, the doctors there were actually crying. And strike 3, and the third time he was killed was by the Romanian court system. We gave it a chance. First, the criminal defendant was tried by a judge only, and despite the overwhelming evidence of the charge of murder caused by an assault, the judge only found him guilty of outrage to the Romanian people, a minor charge, sentenced him to 5 years, and it's based on our reasonable understanding he'll be out very soon if he's not out already. Then, the part of the third strike and the third kill, in this case the Chauncey in his memory, is that the mother was told she had a right to seek a victim status so she could have an input on his sentencing and also get compensation. She filed the paperwork and it was taken away from her on a quote technicality, which was also held by the Romanian appellate court. This is baseball season. 3 strikes, you're out. I promised the mother if we wouldn't get justice in Romania, and I'm speaking for my co-counsel Sandra Moore as well, that we would bring this case to American soil. Right now, we only brought his body back in an American coffin, and we want to have a level playing field now where we can get fairness and justice, and there's other issues involved. The Romanian Health Federation minister investigated this case and investigated